Hello, 4th and 5th grade. This is your first science video for the week. You are going to be doing the final lesson, lesson 4 in our solar system chapter, or space chapter, I guess. Lesson 4 is about the solar system. So this is a longer lesson. It starts on page 276 and it goes to 283. So it's a little bit longer and there are quite a few questions that you're going to need to do. So I've spanned this out in the email, the assignments email, over Monday and Tuesday, or day 1 and day 2, however you want to look at it. If you want to sit down and do it all at once, great, or you can split it up however you want to do it if it starts to feel like it's too much. Just whenever you're done with it, take pictures of the questions and send them to me. Real quick, and I might mention this later, there are some questions in here that require you to like draw an X over a picture or to underline things in the text. It might be better to do that with like a blue pen or a marker of some kind, just so it stands out a little better. And I'll show you why in a minute, but you might want to use pen or a thin marker or something for some of these questions. All right, so anyways, lesson 4 is about the solar system, okay? So always check out your big question over here, preview your vocab words. You can kind of get your brain waves thinking here with the prompt that they always give you to kind of just jog your mind a little bit. I do want you to read this page. It's one of those My Planet Diaries, fun facts. This talks about something that I totally remember from when I was a kid as far as how we remembered the order of the planets. We had this, you use the acronym of the planets, like M for Mercury, V for Venus, E for Earth, M for Mars. Anyways, it was my very energetic mother just served us 9 pizzas, and that's how we would remember the order as far as closest to the sun and farthest from the sun. So this little page is just kind of giving you some information about that, but that is when it was considered that we had 9 planets, because Pluto, the last one, was considered a planet when I was a kid. In 2006, it was declared a dwarf planet, which was highly upsetting to some people, in which the love for Pluto was so great. They were not happy about that. So anyways, there is a little activity down here I want you to do, is to come up with a new saying for just those 8 planets. If you were to take Pluto out of it, what's a fun saying you would come up with? So just a little activity. So in this first page, you're going to read about the solar system. So for us, our solar system includes the sun, the 8 planets, and then all the moons associated with those planets, as well as other objects like asteroids and comets. So earlier in this chapter, you read about how all the planets orbit the sun. And remember, it's not a perfect circle, it's more of an ellipse. They follow a path that is more oval-like, okay? The reason all the planets revolve around the sun, as well as other objects like the asteroids and the comets, is because the sun is the largest object in the solar system, and therefore it has the most gravitational force. So it's because of the sun's gravity that all of our planets, including Earth, are revolving around the sun. So that's important for you to remember, that it's the sun's gravity that causes those planets to revolve around the sun. So that first page will just talk about that, and there will be a question down here for you to answer. On the next page, they give you a nice diagram of the order of the planets. And up here it talks about what a planet is, specifically what does it have to be in order, what things need to be in place in order for something to be considered a planet. So for the most part, they're just a very large, round object that moves around a star. In this case, the star is our sun. So an asteroid and a comet are also objects, but they're not big enough to be considered planets. An asteroid is a rocky object, and it does orbit the sun, but it's too small to be called a planet. It's even too small to be considered a dwarf planet. Comets are the same, except that instead of being a rocky object, they are frozen objects. They're made of ice and gas and dust and bits of rock, but they're not like just a rocky mass. So in this page, you'll read just about the differences of a planet, an asteroid, and a comet. You have the diagram down here. You will notice, probably better when you're actually looking at your own book, there's something called the asteroid belt that's between the orbits of of Mars and Jupiter. I'm trying to see if I can get it to show you guys here. You'll see it much better in your book, but between Mars and Jupiter, you're going to see this very speckled kind of circle. You can probably maybe kind of see it. And there you have the asteroid belt labeled. So it's just the same kind of orbital path, just like the planets have, but these asteroids and comets are kind of going around in this, around this asteroid belt too. Over here, it gives you just a quick little reading about how planets, each other on moons, like Earth has one moon, but other planets have multiple moons, more than you would even think to imagine. So when I talked about how you might need a pen or a marker, this page is the perfect example of that, because you're going to have to put like X's down here on this diagram, and so in order for me to see it, you need to get I don't know if a pencil is going to show up very well. Same with when you answer this question. Pencil may or may not show up very well. Okay, on the next page, you're going to read specific information about the 4 inner planets. So they're the ones that are the closest to the sun, and they're on the inside of that asteroid belt that I was telling you. They're Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. So there's just a quick little thing down here about the inner planets. They would be the smaller, rockier planets, but you do need to read these boxes up here that give specific information. Now in the pictures, it looks like each of the planets are the same size. That is not the case, and they even tell you that. So pay attention to the numbers that are up in the information to know the relation of the sizes to each one. Okay. And then on the next page, you'll read about the outer planets. So the last 4 planets that are on the other side of the asteroid belt. And unlike the inner planets that are like the smaller, rockier planets, these ones are much, much larger. The outer planets are much larger, and they're mostly made up of gases and liquids. And they're starting with Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. I'm sure you're all gonna laugh at that one. So anyways, make sure that you read the text here, but that you also read the descriptions of each one up here, and then you'll have questions to answer. So this, like I said, is a pretty long lesson with a lot of questions to think about. If you're up for it and you want to sit down and do it all in one sitting, great, but you can maybe, do a couple pages one day and then the rest of it the next day. But when you're done, have someone take pictures of your answers and send it to me. All right, enjoy.